What's up, guys? We are going to talk about 3 bluegill baits that you need to have in your arsenal this spring. These are maybe semi under the radar, maybe not, depending on how often you are paying attention and around these baits. But these are 3 baits that are must-haves this time of the year. So if you guys want to dive in, let's go. Welcome to the Hookup Tackle. The Hookup Tackle is the world's largest showcase of megabass products, featuring baits and colors not found at any other dealer. The Hookup also offers a wide display of O.S.P, Evergreen, Depths, Lucky Craft, Jackal, and many more. The Hookup Tackle is owned and operated by family, is staffed by guides and verified tackle nerds who love helping anglers elevate their craft. If you're in the Phoenix area, we'd love to have you stop by our showroom and check out the wonderful world of megabass and the Hookup for yourself. If you shop online, there are almost 10,000 SKUs of megabass products alone, with hundreds of other companies and new products being added daily. So next time you're looking for that hard to find bait, that color your fish have never seen before, or maybe you just want to elevate your game, look at thehookuptackle.com. All right, what's up, my friends? I am Ben with the Hookup Tackle, the Tackle Otaku on Instagram, being joined once again by my buddy at Desert Bassin, CJ.
What's up?
What's up, guy?
How's it going, man? Look good today.
Going well. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I like the shirt.
So today we're going to talk about bluegill baits. We're going to talk about 3 bluegill baits that I think everybody should have in their arsenal this spring. You know, there's 9 million different styles of baits, shads and bluegills and crawdads and all kinds of things, but you know, bluegills are one of a bass's favorite forages. All right, it's a favorite thing to eat. This time of the year, you start seeing them in the shallows, you see them everywhere. The baits we're going to talk about today are bluegill baits. They're designed to imitate a bluegill, but they're all 3 baits that I have found to be highly effective everywhere in the country, whether they're eating bluegill or not. So that's why they're on my list. And a lot of you guys may be using these already, which would be awesome. Then congratulations to you. Good job. So we just wanted to shed some light on them and make sure that you guys can see them. We can talk about them. And I would recommend putting these in your arsenal. You guys are going to catch a bunch of fish this spring on these. So let's start. Let's talk about a glide bait that we've spoken about a lot here in the store. But I still feel like bluegill glides are really underutilized, right? I think they're very pigeonholed as a quote-unquote bluegill only type bait, and this is one of those baits that I think has started to bridge the gap and break those barriers. Okay, and this is the Baitsanity Explorer Gill. Okay, now there's a couple things that are dope about this. We've spoken about this a lot, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this guy, but this is one that if you are new to glide baits or new to big baits, this is a true 2-ounce bait. Okay, so you're in a true swim bait here. But what's dope about this is it is a bluegill shaped bait. All right, like I could take this out.
It's hard to find like a good bluegill glide bait. There's not a ton of them out there, and that thing hits it right on the nail, man. That's a dirty bait.
Well, I think what's key, you know, there are a lot of guys that fish ponds and lakes in places where, you know, bluegill is the only forage, right? Having a bluegill style, you know, big bait makes a ton of sense, right? There are a lot of guys that fish places like what we fish out here where bluegill are in every lake that we have, but they're not necessarily the main forage all the time. You have bluegill, you have shad, you have crawdads, you have threadfin shad, gizzard shad, you have baby bass, you have crappie, you have, you know, rats, mice, snake. You have all these different things, right, that a fish potentially could be feeding, and bluegill is one of those things. So what's nice about the Explorer Gill is you can see it is a bluegill profile, right? It is mimicked and built off of a bluegill frame, right? So it's going to be taller than it is wide, right? So it's relatively thin, right? It's relatively tall. But what's great about these baits is they come in different color patterns. So you could go with a true like bluegill pattern, you could go with a shinier pattern, or you could even go with like a white or a bone type pattern. They also are designed and they have different tails on them. So you can very easily, detach a tail, right? So you could take off the tail that comes and you could add a paddle tail to it to make it more of a swimming type action and less of a glide, right? So you can really alter these and tweak these to swim not just to what the fish are telling you they want, whether they want it a slow glide or a fast swim, but also to imitate different species, right? So, if you're fishing around bluegill beds or brim beds, maybe you want just a kind of a real slow glide that's kind of keeping it right in the fish's face, for a long period of time. But maybe you turn the corner, right, and there's a shad spawn going on down a bank, and they're popping shad. So then you could very easily just throw this out and just kind of swim it quick, and it has a really tight swim, and they bite it both ways. They bite it on the glide, they bite it on the swim. So it's just a great one to have in your arsenal because you can do a lot of different things with it. So if you guys are looking for, a relatively inexpensive by glide bait standards, just a great hard bait that's a bluegill imitation, but that has a lot of versatility, the Explorer Gill is a great way to go. And there's all kinds of little features, right? So you got the swiveled hook hangers. Again, you got the detachable gill. You've got these kind of pads on the inside to prevent there from being a lot of noise, right? So they've kind of tried to create a little bit of a buffer. So it's just a very natural, and it's a bait that just gets bit. So check that out. Definitely want to add to the arsenal the Baitsanity Explorer Gill.
Well, I noticed it's really good for, too, kind of off the subject of bluegill.
Yeah.
For guys in like the Southwest and maybe in the Florida area.
Yep.
It mimics tilapia really well.
Yes.
So if tilapia are spawning, that's a great bait to throw too.
Absolutely. Now, let's dive into a soft bait that I think everybody should have in their arsenal. And this is one that we talk about on a fairly regular basis, but soft baits in bluegill, unless it's like a true swim bait that's just swimming, tend to not get spoken about very much. And one of the techniques that we use a lot here is a free rig. We talk about a free rig a ton. It's just a great way to catch fish, whether you're in a big body of water, in a tiny little pond, in a river, in a lake, right? It just catches fish everywhere. You can alter it and tweak it to fit whatever you need it to do, right? And there is a bluegill bait that's designed as a free rig bluegill bait, and this is by O.S.P. This is the O.S.P DoLive Gill. Okay, so they are available in two different sizes, in a 3.6 and then in a little 2-inch size. So you can really downsize and go with the small one. If you, I don't know, bait finesse or something a little micro, you could definitely go with that guy. I primarily throw this 3.6-inch size. And what's great about this is, the DoLive Gill, similar to like a Depths Bull Flat, that would be in kind of the same category as this. These are built flat, right? So again, similar to the, the Explorer Gill. Typically, when there is a gill bait, it's built tall and thin, right? Versus kind of round like you would traditionally do on a crawl. Now, what's great about this is that this bait, you're going to see it has a flat side here and a round side on the bottom. It's designed to rig flat side up, so that this, as it falls, it's going to have a little bit of a rock to it, and it's going to have a glide. And as it glides, it has this very, very subtle back section there. It's just going to have a little bit of a glide. It's just going to kind of spiral and swim as it falls. It's just a very natural bluegill profile. The fish are kind of seeing it, and it looks like a bluegill kind of just swimming around. But again, it's just a natural fish type pattern. So you could go with bluegill colors, like this is vitamin gill, you could go with a green pumpkin, something like that that looks like a bluegill, but you could very easily just change the color and shift to like a ghost shrimp, and it looks like a goby swimming around, right? Or you could go with like the pearl, and it looks like a shad falling during shad spawn, right? There's a lot of different things you can do with this bait, and there's a lot of different riggings you can do as well. I just love it on the free rig. It's just a great option when you need something a little bit more of a bluegill profile. That's the O.S.P DoLive Gill. Definitely a must-have this time of the year in the spring. All right, and then the third bait we're going to talk about today is a bait that everybody in the world has heard of by now, but most people just know it is the wrong name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, but we are going to fight to shed light on the real version. We are talking about the Ise Gill Flat and the Gill Flat Jr. Now, this bait was straight knocked off by Berkeley as the gilly. and everybody knows the gilly as the gilly. This is the original version. I love this bait. This bait has been around in Japan for a really long time. It's just a very, very natural bluegill profile, and it's a bait that you can do a lot of different things with. Now, this is the junior version. We're going to talk about this today because I think it has the most versatility for just countrywide. Now, when you buy these guys, they'll usually come in a set. There's going to be a piece of styrofoam up here. There's going to be some eyes. So if you want to make it super realistic, you can attach eyes to it and put eyes on it. The foam is designed because all of these kind of have a hollow head, right? So you could cut a piece of foam and put it in there and have it be super buoyant. So if you want to maybe free rig this or Carolina rig this in a way to where the weight pulls it down and then that foam kind of floats it back up off the surface, you can do that with this bait. I typically just fish it straight out of the package like this. Now you can seal that little hole if you want to trap a little bit of an air in there. I don't usually worry about that too much. It has a great swimming motion just as it is. You can see it's going to come grooved. You can, and again, you can fish it just like this on a free rig as well. You can put it on a little hook and swim it. You can nose hook it and drop shot it. But one way that I love to fish this bait this time of the year is with a Zappu Inchi Wacky jig head. Now you could use any type of head. I just have always used the Zappu head. It's just a great head for this. And literally just hooking this the same way you would any type of like nose hook bait. This is such a versatile bait that just looks alive. It is mimicked after a bluegill, right? Because bluegill is basically the main forage for bass in Japan, so that was the idea behind this. But you can get this in all kinds of colors. Like this is a shad color that I have here, so it's got a bluegill profile, but it's just going to have a natural swimming action, not necessarily just a bluegill action. It's going to look like any type of bait fish swimming through the water, right? So literally this is the rigging that I usually go with, just an Inchi Wacky on this, and this is just a deadly, deadly bait to fish just running down the bank. Anytime from spawn to post-spawn, because again, remember the bass are going to move shallow to spawn. Then when they're done, usually the bluegill and the brim and stuff move up and they're going to spawn. The shad are going to spawn. So there's lots of life happening in the shallows this time of the year. So this is just a great one to tie on and just run the bank. This is also a great time of the year to catch them on things like the flick shake, right? Or a Wacky rig Senko. A lot of people will use. This is just a good option. You can fish it the same exact way. You cast it, you just kind of shake it, just kind of drag it around and let the bait do its thing. It just looks very lifelike, just like a bluegill or a little bait fish getting away. So I know you guys are going to catch gazillions of fish on this if you implement it into the arsenal. So again, that is the Issei Gill Flat and Gill Flat Junior, a must-have in the spring. Check that one out. All right, guys, that is a wrap. Those are 3 of my favorite bluegill baits that I know are going to catch you guys a ton of fish this spring if you implement them. If you have any questions, drop it down below, and I will definitely get to it. CJ will leave links to those products as well, so if you want to check any of them out, you certainly can. Have a great time fishing this spring, guys. Use those baits, catch a ton of fish. Thank you for the business. Thank you for the time. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out.